Hi, this video segment is about how to declare, define, and use functions in C. After this video lecture, we will be able to reach three main objectives. First, we will be able to declare and define our custom function in C and use them in our code. Second, we will learn how to pass data to our function via arguments. Third, we will learn how to separate our C function in different files, and we will understand the concept of header files. We have used C functions before. We have already seen and used the obligatory main function. We have also used the standard functions from C header file library, like printf from stdio.h. A function contains a series of statements that are executed when the function is called. Once the function is executed, the program resumes at a point just after the function call. Functions are used to make modular our code. Typically, we first identify the piece of code that we want to use many times. We isolated it in a function, and we call that function in the main instead of repeating the code many times. The use of function in our code is very important, as it makes our code easier to read and understand. In a C code, there are two steps we need to carry out to use function. We need first to declare them and then to define them. In the same way we declare variables before using them, functions should be first declared. Function declaration is known as function prototype. Function prototypes are used to inform the compiler about that function. Function prototypes should be added before the main function. Exactly like the main function, our function can return a value. Its data type should be included in the prototype. The actual function definition with the statements appears after the main function. Here an example of how to first declare and then define our function in C. We begin a new program with the processor instruction to include the standard input-output library, including stdio.h. We declare our two function prototypes, first and square 5. As you can see, it's just a declaration with the names of the function and the type of the returning value. We then call the custom function in the main. The two custom functions are first and square 5. Square 5 returns an integer story in num. We print a num and return 0 at the end of the main function. After the main, we define our two functions. First function prints a hello from the first function, and square function that calculates the square of 5 and returns it. Data to our function is passed with arguments. The function can then use the data to execute its statement. The function prototype in the declaration must include the name and the data type of each argument. A very important point is that in C, data is passed by value. This means that functions operate on a local copy of the argument variable. If your C function changes the value of the argument variable, it changed the value of its own copy only. When the function returns in the main, the value of the arguments will be still the same before calling the function. This is in contrast with other languages where arguments are passed by reference. Multiple arguments can be specified, separating them with a comma, as you can see in this example with the declaration of my underscore function. When we develop a large code, we should think about program structure. To maintain a large code in just one file might be cumbersome and messy. To simplify the program structure, separate files can be created to contain function declaration and definition. If we put our function in separate files, we need to create two different files. First, we create an header file with .h file extension to include our function declarations. We then create a .c code to include our function definition. The functions in our header files are made available to the program by adding an #include preprocessor directive at the start of the file containing the main function. Our header file should be enclosed with double quotes instead of the angle brackets. We use angle brackets specifically to include standard header files from the standard libraries. Here we have an example on how to have our function in separate files. We create an header file, utils.h, where we declare our function square that takes an integer and returns an integer. We create a second file, utils.c, where we define our squared function, so it calculates the square of the num argument. Our main code is called square_code.c. In order to use our function defined on different file, we need first to include it as a #include double quotes utils.h double quotes. The main code prints the integer value calculated calling the square function with 5 as an argument. Some attention should be put when we compile our code that comprise function on separate files. The first thing we need to do is to compile our function defined in utils.c. We do that with gcc -c utils.c. This will create an object file utils.o. Then, as a second step, we need to link this object file with the main to create an executable, in this case called square_code. After we created the executable, we can simply execute it from the command line as /square_code. And with these slides, I'm done. Thank you.